Welcome back to page 121. Today we're going to take a look at some Gods of the Suel Pantheon, as presented by Len Lakofka out of Dragon number 86. I haven't done one of these in quite a while since I finished up the Gygax deities of Greyhawk, or deities of Oerth, and now I'm going to be taking a look at the Len Lakofka one. So this is going to be part one of this set. We're going to go through all the gods as detailed by Leonard Lakofka and see what they bring to the table. Also, quick reminder, subscribers, please. I'm still growing the channel. It's growing very nicely, but I need you to continue. So if you haven't subscribed, please do. If you have, thank you. Also, Patreon. I have a Patreon going with active rewards. So if you can take a look there, maybe you can help me out there. To my patrons, I want to say thank you. That's it. The end of the commercial. Back to Dragon 86 and part one of the Gods of the Suel Pantheon. Dragon 86. This issue is from June of 84. It's one of the Chessmen covers. They did a couple of these. I really always enjoyed this cover. But to look inside, presenting the Suel Pantheon, adding to background for Greyhawk campaigns by Leonard Lakofka. Copyright Gary Gygax. There's an editor's introduction. He's basically saying, he being Gary Gygax, is saying that these are just fine in the World of Greyhawk setting, and it's an expansion on what he had done before. So the first god we take a look at by Len Lakofka. Len Lakofka, real quick, was an early contributor to a ton of AD&D and always had a solid presence in Dragon Magazine. He used to do Lehman's Tiny Hut column, and he's done many others. So a lot of contributions by Mr. Lakofka to this fine magazine, this fine game. So on to the first of the gods presented here, Lendor. He's a greater god, the Prince of Time and the Master of Tedium. He's kind of the all-father of the gods, although he's not referred to that as that in here. He is armor class -8, 320 hit points. His special attacks are, he does one attack at 4 to 40 plus 7 damage, so he's going to hurt you. His special attacks are time magic, we'll see below, and special defenses are immune to banishment and similar attacks. 95% magic resistance. He is medium. He has lawful neutral alignment, and his worshippers are lawful figures, also magic users and astronomers. His symbol is a crescent moon, crossing a full moon surrounded by 14 stars. He lives in the plane of Nirvana. He operates as a 12th level cleric, 13th level fighter, 19th level magic user, and has strength of 19, intelligence 23, wisdom 21, dexterity 19, constitution 19, and charisma of 20. He appears as a husky older man with a white beard and white hair and a long white beard. He wears a large diamond ring worth 500,000 gold pieces that acts as a ring of +5 protection for anyone he lends it to. Note, it says lends. If you steal it, you don't get the benefit. He can recall the ring at any time with 100% certainty. So he can lend it to you. That could be something you'd use in a game where there's a follower who's in desperate need. So he gets the favor of the gods, a la Perseus from the Clash of the Titans movies, where he gets a gift of the gods and helps him on his quest. Lendor's sword, named Afterglow, is a flame-tongue sword with an ego of 18, intelligence of 18. It's aligned to absolute lawful neutrality, and no character or creature of different alignment can wield it. It's +3 to hit versus any kind of creature, and does 4 to 40 points of damage plus his strength bonus on every hit. It does full damage, even to those creatures that are resistant or immune to fire. If it hits a chaotic figure in melee, that figure must take the damage and then also make a save versus paralyzation at -3 or be paralyzed for 4 to 16 rounds. Victim's magic resistance is applied prior to the saving throw, but at a -20% penalty. So that's and it also says take into account Lendor's high levels of magic user. At 19th level, Lendor would strip out 40%, so I'm not really sure what that note refers to. Lendor can cast Time Stop 3 times per day over and above any 9th level spells that he casts as an MU. This spell will negate up to 45% magic resistance in another creature or deity, and then the figure gains no saving throw. Ordinary mortals have no escape from the spell. He is also able to reverse time for a temporal distance of up to 1 hour in any area as large as a cube 100 feet in a side. All creatures in the confines of this cubic area must be present when time is reversed, otherwise you'll just be standing outside and seeing it. If the time is reversed and you have an opportunity to correct the mistake that got you, for instance, killed, that's fine, but you have to be able to do it within the hour. You have to be able to avoid the circumstances, because this is just a time rollback. Time is going to proceed as it had been, and if you don't make any changes to it, it's just going to proceed as it was. Lendor will use reverse time power sparingly, usually only employing it to serve his personal purpose on behalf of faithful followers. It can only be used once a day. Every time he uses it, there's a 20% chance the fabric of time inside the area of effect will be torn asunder. This occurs, each creature in the area will be thrown backward in time from 10 to 1,000 years. That's kind of interesting. That could be a real problem. It can also mess up your campaign. In addition to a greater god's normal ability to summon, Lendor can call 3 to 6 spectators from Monster Manual 2, and the monsters will come within 4 to 16 segments. This power can be used 3 times a day. If anyone makes an attempt to call upon Lendor or gate him into their presence, he is certain to send at least one spectator before he arrives to determine the need, if any, for he himself to come. Lendor is the father, mother of the gods and goddesses of the Suel Pantheon, and as such he may banish any of the other deities back to his or her plane of existence for 1 month. This power can be used once a week. In addition, he can undo any wish or limited wish cast by another member of the Pantheon, if that action is performed within 24 hours of the first casting. So within 24 hours, he can undo another god's wish from his Pantheon. He cannot be sent back to Nirvana by any other deities of his Pantheon, nor do they have the ability to change any wishes he may use. So he's a lot like Zeus in that regard, where he can change their stuff, but they can't change his. He's able to shape change his will, at will, with his favorite forms being a huge silver dragon and a female elf. Lendor's clergy are not common on Oerth. The few that are present are unswervingly lawful and seldom interact with others. His cleric's vestments are always silver, and the garment is adorned with a black circle containing Lendor's symbol. Clerics of Lendor acquire certain spell abilities as follows. At 7th level, they can perform a long, tedious task in half the time it would normally take another person. And at this point in their advancement, they become able to cast all their first level spells in 1 segment less time, except for command, which is already 1 segment. Upon reaching 11th level, clerics of Lendor can steadily perform any task without needing food or rest for twice as long as any other characters, and gain the ability to cast their 2nd level spells 1 segment faster than others, except for slow, which is 1 segment casting time. And upon attaining 16th level, clerics of Lendor become immune to the effects of time stop spells that are cast by anyone except Lendor. These special abilities are paid for by clerics' special experience point requirements that all clerics of Lendor must meet. They must earn 5% more points than usual to reach 7th level, so the points are deducted throughout the time at 6th level, and 5% to attain 11th level, and 5% to attain 16th. Temples of Lendor exist only in large cities, notably Lowell, Reltarma, and Iron Gate. So basically you have to have 5% more experience points as a cleric of Lendor in order to gain these extra powers. You have to pay the 5% tax whether you want the powers or not. That's automatic. The powers come with the 5% tax. Interestingly, if you have an 18, or I'm sorry, not an 18, but a high wisdom as a cleric, you gain a 10% bonus. So your 10% bonus would actually become a 5% bonus as you pay this tax. So it's kind of interesting that you have a way to kind of offset the tax. One other thing I want to point out in these articles, they did a nice job. Here are all the powers, the standard divine abilities, as published in Gygax's Deities and Demigods articles from Dragon Magazine, where we have the powers of the greater gods, lesser gods, and demigods, and then the notes, and then clerics experience penalties. They recommend that you just deduct the penalties before awarding experience points to the cleric. So if the cleric is paying his 5%, simply deduct 5% from his total for the night and then add it in. That's not a bad way to do it. All right, we're going to look at our next deity in this section, Naribo. He's a lesser god, the god of luck and gambling. Armor class -7, 145 hit points, 5 attacks a round. And he can either use his sling 5 times a round or his dagger 5 times a round. Special attacks and defenses, see below. 55% MR. He's chaotic neutral with evil tendencies, and his worshippers' alignment is thieves and assassins of any alignment and gamblers. And his symbol is a pair of 8-sided dice. He lives in Pandemonium. He operates a 3rd level cleric and a 3rd level druid. As a magic user, he operates his 3rd level, but see below. Thief, 25th level thief, 7th level monk. Strength of 20, intelligence 19, wisdom 18, dexterity 25, constitution 18, charisma 11. Kind of a low charisma for a god. Next to Cord, Naribo is likely the most popular god in the Suel Pantheon. He appears as a man of average height, weight, and facial features. In any human form he assumes, he can blend into a crowd easily. His tunic has the properties of a displacer cloak when he wills it to act as such, and also serves as a robe of eyes. His boots allow him to fly at will. Naribo can polymorph himself into any animal up to the size of a horse. He often chooses to assume the form of a mouse, a raven, or a cat so he can blend into his surroundings and escape rapidly if desired. In his humanoid form, he can alter his body proportions by as much as 20% and even change sex if it suits him. In this manner, he can assume the body structure and general appearance of any humanoid or demi-human larger than a gnome and smaller than an ogre. He bears a sling of +5 to hit and damage. Because of its magical properties, his dagger is +4 to hit and damage, and he adds a strength to that. Naribo is so agile he can attack 5 times per round with either of these weapons, or twice per round with each if he chooses to change weapons during the round. That's interesting because he actually, with 25 dex, I'd allow him to attack with the sling at a distance in one hand and the dagger close up in another, and I'd let him split the attacks. So it's kind of neat. He can use his sling 5 times during a round, even while flying. He can pick up any other sling and immediately cause it to become a +3 weapon to hit. That enchantment remains with the weapon for 24 hours after he puts it down, or can be canceled immediately as he will. Although Naribo generally only has 3rd level ability cleric, druid, and magic user, he can cast 3 spells: knock, dispel magic, and wizard lock at 25th level of ability. A wizard lock cast by Naribo cannot be negated or removed by any method except physically breaking or by a successful dispel magic. So somebody of high level cannot just get rid of his wizard lock. Naribo enjoys visiting taverns and gambling houses in the guise of a cheerful, innocent stranger and setting up games of chance against others. He possesses a form that enables him to control the result of any roll of a single die. He can vary it by as much as +3 or -3. Subject, of course, to limits the number of the die. So if it's a 6-sider, he can bring it up or down 3. Interesting. He can cheat, but he can only do it with 1 die at a time. Imagine a die being thrown and almost coming to rest on a certain number, then making 1 or 2 more turns, so the final result is altered from what would otherwise have been. His skill with this power gives him a 95% success rate. When he fails, the die result will be the opposite of what he intended. He will use his power to try to control die rolls whenever he can, but when he gets intoxicated, his power goes sour and is only 50% accurate. And with a constitution of 18, it would take a fair amount to get this guy in his cups. The power is never good against more than 1 die at a time. It's impossible for a mortal to detect when this power is being used, just impossible for someone to know Naribo's true identity unless the deity wills it. Naribo is the patron of thieves and assassins. He does not care overly for lawful actions, but if he believes in planning and is a staunch advocate of neutrality as opposed to good or evil. He is the lover of Weejas and is often in her company. On very rare occasions, Naribo will utilize his ability to alter the dexterity of any humanoid or demi-human mortal. Such a change is permanent unless counteracted by other magic or by Naribo himself. He will almost never change a figure's dexterity by more than 1 point, and when he increases or decreases it by more than that amount, he will only allow the effect to last a few days at best. He cannot lower a figure's dexterity below 3 or raise it more than 1 point above the normal racial max for the character. He will never reduce the dexterity of a thief or assassin below the minimum required for the class, as long as the character in question is one of his worshippers. Likewise, he will not lower the dexterity of one of his clerics below the minimum required for that character to remain as a follower, unless the cleric has committed a transgression and warrants excommunication. It must be emphasized he employs this power only rarely. So the author doesn't want you having this guy wandering around granting everybody a bunch more dex bonuses. Naribo enjoys minor magics, but he abhors multi-class thieves and assassins who use spells to help harm or kill a target. For instance, casting a hold person, then slitting the throat of the held victim. He finds such actions unsporting. This from a guy who cheats at dice games. That's why he's got neutral tendencies. And if he becomes aware of a multi-class follower doing such a thing, Naribo will do everything in his power to prevent the follower from ever again using spells. So it's a pretty harsh penalty from this guy. Clerics who worship Naribo dress in brown or dark green robes. Churches and temples dedicated to his worship are often located on the outskirts of town or city, or even further isolated out in the country. Naribo prefers natural settings for his places of worship, and services in his honor always involve drinking and gambling. Naribo's clerics, including the occasional druid, 10% likely chance, must have dexterity of 9 or better. They must be either human, half elf, or half orc, and the demihumans can be multiclassed. All of Naribo's clergy are non-lawful, and none can be neutral evil alignment. They all have the ability to hide in shadows, move silently, climb walls, and remove traps, same success as a thief of equal level. As compensation for these special abilities, clerics of Naribo must earn an additional 10% experience points to be able to advance from one level to the next. In the world of Oerth, shrines to Naribo are known as churches of the Big Gamble, and they abound in the barbarian states. There are known to be isolated churches on Lendor Isle, in the module L1, the Secret of Bone Hill, along the Wild Coast, in Greyhawk, and various cities of the Iron League. So I like Naribo. I like him a lot. He reminds me in a lot of ways of Ralashaz. He's just a fun little gambling, drinking deity patron of thieves. I like him a lot. These are the only two that we get to look at in this one. And again, you have to pay a 10% penalty, but if you have a high wisdom with this character, you would get a 10% bonus. So if that were the case, you just progress without any bonus whatsoever. No plus, no minus. The 10% is negated. So that's not a horrible penalty to pay to get the several thief abilities at equal level. So there we have it, the first look at the Suel Pantheon by Leonard the Kafka. In future videos, I'll take a look at the rest of this series. It went, I want to say, about 4 episodes. I haven't really gone that far in my reading, but I'll present them as they were presented in Dragon Magazine. So I want to thank you for your time. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think about this series. If I should keep doing the deities of Greyhawk, please let me know. And I'll see you next time on page 121.